Endwalker title. Reaching across time and space, the sound of this horn brings Argos bounding to your side. Let's take a look at this. Not the actual... I want to see what it says. Mount Guide. Created by Vana, this dog-like familiar lends his back only to those who have won his favor, which you already had by the time you first met him in Mari Lamentorum, owing to the quirks of time travel. Nashu is the quote. Gosh, he's a fast doggy. That's hilarious. Oh, summon forth Argos, Vana's faithful familiar, to bear you places while you marvel at the softness of his golden coat. Cutie patootie. Then we've got our lovely Vana. Because, come on now, you know who this is. Just gotta find her. There she is. There once was a woman who selflessly served her fellow man as Asim. Even after stepping down, she continued in this mission and went on to become a divinity that hope may endure. This mammoth was made in her honor. 'Tis time for action, ancient hero. That was cool. Let's pop over to Old Charlian real quick.
Okay.
Because I mean, I'm assuming Pandemonium is in Elpis. So what is in Old Charlian?
Probably the dungeons.
Dungeons, right? Oh, there's a lot of quests here. Holy cow. What are all these? Cutting the cheese. The crystal from beyond. Where no Loperit has gone before. Hunt for the ages, which we need to pick up. And I wandered Charlian as a minstrel.
Well.
Panic-stricken. Let me just talk. It'll probably be obvious. This looks like a dungeon. So we'll leave that be.
Because we're going to do those with Ehqo when she catches up, right?
Yes.
You let me know when you want to hear my thoughts on the whole Zenos thing.
Oh, this is actually the...
Pandemonium.
Yeah. Okay, so it starts in Old Charlian.
Well, they're pretty good at keeping the new stuff at the hubs. Because if you remember, pretty much everything in Shadowbringers started at the Crystarium.
That's a good call.
We haven't been to Radzatan yet.
No.
Since the final days.
Jamming Way. Whoa, that's a rabbit hole.
I think that's probably the other dungeon.
Yep, which means this is the hunt and then the extremes. Okay. Let me see, let me switch classes.
That's level 89.
Yeah, but there's a level sync on it, isn't it?
It just
there
says
isn't.
plus to me.
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay.
I find it kind of odd still that they just waited until 89 to give us anything else with hubs.
Yep. And one more. I like the level things. Also, I like stuff. Oop, cutscene for this one, jeez.
Hello?
This is different.
Who are these people? I'm just dumbfounded.
Yep.
Wow.
Goodness. Wait, what? Do they have specific requests now?
I don't know, but who is this?
Isn't the person who's giving us requests?
Oh, yeah, never mind. Oh, they tell you about the elite marks in each area.
Ah, probably. Gotcha.
It's a unique situation where we have stuff in the past, stuff on the moon, stuff at the end of the universe, stuff right here on Earth. So instead we get researchers specialized to each of those areas, that they're the ones requesting stuff.
Senior. Elite. I have Shockmaw from Elpis.
I have Iravati from Thavnir.
Did we open up any new vendor stuffs? Nope.
What are you doing here, sir?
He dressed up.
Hey, he's got glasses. He's short.
Okay, let's talk about Zodiar. Oop, forgot these are cutscenes. They're very brief, but they are cutscenes. I slayed the people or the thing that saved us in the final days, and then started the final days again.
This isn't the minstrel. This is the Yoshi P model. This isn't the minstrel model.
Ah. Actually, Yoshi P talking this time. Oh, it actually makes sense. I just realized he's wearing the Reaper outfit.
Yeah, but the minstrel has like pink eyes.
Yeah.
And blonde hair.
Yeah. Good call. Talk about Heidelin. And then I slayed Heidelin? You know, that Heidelin? Oh. As goddess immortal to silence the dirge.
Mm-hmm.
Heidelin's Call. Cool.
Zodiark's Fall and Heidelin's Call.
Yeah. That's all the quests here. Let's go to Rezidon. If that's okay with you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Hello, all the people. Who's this? Hardy looking radiant. Oh, this is the Stone Sky Sea. Good, let's talk to him.
Okay.
The music's different.
Yes, I told you we hadn't actually heard the proper town theme yet. All the way at Palika's stand? Ugh.
Who are you? Oh yeah, House of Splendors.
Is that crafting stuff?
Yes.
Okay, because it's locked for me.
Yeah, it looks like this is all crafting stuff in this hall. Which means the other hall should be the Tombstone Exchange. It's actually kind of cool. It actually feels like a bazaar with everybody running around.
A lot of NPCs. No, there's a lot of NPCs too. There are like so many NPCs just wandering around. Huh. I'm gonna guess this is for raid token turn in because there's a bunch of people standing there and no NPC.
Yep. Oh dang, it's 580 gear for Zodiark. And Heidel's the weapons, also 580 gear. Jeez. What else you got? Out of this world oddities? Oh. Oh no, a Gaja headed suit?
Yes. Here we go. Tombstone exchange.
Moonward. Oh, that's an interesting look. The weapon is really interesting.
Oh, it's the Rydia set.
Interesting. I like the gear, but I also don't like the gear because I like what I'm wearing already. Okay. The striking set is really, really nice. Oh, the aiming set's pretty good too. I know it's inspired by Edward, but I really like how it looks.
Do you want to hear my thoughts on the whole Zenos thing?
Sure, let's find a quieter area. I know that makes no sense. Oh, wait,
I
you're
did.
did. Lay it on me.
Alright, I've been thinking about this for like 2 days. Because I was really bothered by the whole Zenos thing. He felt like completely pointless. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I felt like he was a little tacked on. Like, well, you heard me talking about it. I was like, where is Zenos going to come into this?
Mm-hmm.
And then he just kind of shows up at the end, and that was weird.
So I did some really, really hard thinking about it. And there's one line that he has right at the end that kind of triggered this line of thought for me. And that's where he says, like, he calls us his mirror
Mm-hmm.
and asks if we got fulfillment and all of that. So we're supposed to feel like that. We're supposed to feel like his whole part of this plot was pointless, that his pursuit of greater and greater challenge is useless. And I had compared him to the Omicrons.
Right, yes.
Um,
Where there comes a point at which, if you pursue it long enough, you run out of things that are your equal, and you're left with nothing to improve.
Okay, so here's the point of that. And here's what Zenos was meant to illustrate. It goes hand in hand with Emmett Selk's whole speech as he's leaving of, like, think of all of the amazing things in this world that you haven't seen yet, all of the adventures you haven't had. Zenos' role in this story at the end was to show us that we can't keep topping this. We just can't. And we need you to understand how fruitless it would be for us to keep trying to top every expansion with more spectacle and crazier fights and all of this nonsense, because we can't sustain it. And this is why.
Interesting.
Because everything that Ishikawa does is intentional.
No, that's a good call.
So there had to be a point to it. And that's the point. That on top of what Emmett Selk said and the whole breaking up of the Scions thing is to put us in the mindset of we're going back to Azim's roots. We're not supposed to be tied down to an organization, because he wasn't. He did whatever he wanted. He didn't sit on the convocation. He was part of the convocation, but he didn't rely on the convocation. He didn't discuss with the convocation, and he didn't even join the Heidelin faction either. They tried to get him to help, and he didn't want any part of it. He's like, just let me do my own thing. You guys take care of that. I'm going to take care of me. I'm going to take care of the people.
There you go. I was going to say take care of the people is really what it comes down to.
But at heart, Azim is a traveler, an explorer, an adventurer, and they want to put us back in that place to where we're just exploring for the sake of it and having adventures because it's fun, not because it's the next big challenge that we have to defeat, that we want to, test ourselves against, and for it to be bigger and better and cooler than what we fought before. Because that's not the point. Because we are not Zenos. It was putting up a mirror to the player and saying, is this what you want? because this isn't what you're going to get, and it's not going to give you fulfillment because we cannot continue like this.
Yeah, you literally saw Zenos at the very, very end, in his last breaths. He was basically like, wait, was this what I wanted? And
was it worth it?
And he literally died thinking to himself, oh crap. Yeah, like you said, was it all worth it in the end?
Because we've been asked that several times over the course of this expansion.
Have you,
by Vana and by other people. Yeah, was it worth it? I think Yoshi P asked us that during the Rising event too, asking if the journey had been worth it, if we felt that spending our time here had been worth the trouble. So I think that's the larger question that the devs are asking us is, if there isn't some big epic story to tell that tops this somehow. Because remember, after Shadowbringers, that's what we kept asking. How are they going to top this? How are they going to make it bigger and better and more of a spectacle? And the answer is they just can't. They kind of can't. It becomes the Bleach problem.
Gotcha. There's always a Bankai and then the Super Bankai. And yeah.
It gets out of hand.
Yeah. It's any type of
any big shonen type.
That's the term I was looking for.
Yeah.
Any shonen adventure is always going to be someone bigger and more powerful shows up, and the main character has to get stronger.
And I have to wonder if the stat squish may have been a part of that thought process with the devs, that they were just like, this can't. Is it nighttime?
That's what it sounds like.
That was a smooth, seamless transition if it is. Yep, it is 6 p.m. But, yeah, I have to wonder if it came up at some point when they were discussing, and they were like, ooh, the numbers are starting to get out of hand too. Like, this is getting ridiculous. We need to do something about this. We need to rein the player base back.
Yeah, no, I think I wholeheartedly agree with your assessment, honestly. I know we've been reading a lot of thoughts online, but I think yours rings true with how I would see things. I know we play together and we share thoughts, so
we don't always agree, as is obvious by some of these recordings.
There's a couple things, yeah, that we were... There was one that we actually kind of just had to drop at one point. I don't remember what it was anymore, but...
Arguing about whether the Charlians were right in the way they were handling things.
Oh, that's right. Which is funny, because even the game didn't really come out with an answer to that. They kind of dropped that too.
Because there were several members of the Scions that were like, I'm making assumptions about the way you're handling this, and I don't like that. And Kyle was just like, let's not even touch that right now. We're not going to get into it because it's irrelevant.
There are bigger fish to fry. Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things. I've seen a lot of people say that they were really irritated with Zenos, especially right at the end, and that the whole thing just felt pointless and all this, that, and the other. And it's like, I felt that way too. Like, there was a lot of just, I don't want to deal with you right now. Like, there's other stuff going on, blah, blah, blah. Like, this feels ridiculous. This feels pointless. But like I said, I you have to like step back and think about like what is the emotion that the writers are trying to invoke here, and if you can put that barrier up, the feelings of frustration don't bleed into feelings of negativity towards the narrative itself. And a lot of people, unfortunately, have a problem with that. Because, like I've pointed out before, I actually really, really like the Netflix live-action Death Note because it's really uncomfortable. And I feel like a lot of people didn't like it because it was really uncomfortable.
I mean, it had a lot of other issues.
There were other issues.
The direction was a little weird, but I know what you mean.
It's just that there's times where the intention of a narrative is to make you uncomfortable, and people tend to lash out at that because they don't like being uncomfortable.
It's very true.
And there hasn't necessarily been a lot of lashing out as far as the whole Zenos thing goes, but I can see people talking about it as a weak point of the expansion because of the fact that it was intended to be irritating.
Yes. No, wholeheartedly agree. And that's always a good point to make, which is that Ishikawa was a lead writer. So we know for a fact that she does everything intentionally. And with a main character like that, this isn't a side quest. This is a main scenario quest, main scenario character. There's a reason why she handled Zenos the way that she did.
Mm-hmm. And I hit upon this realizing that she doesn't do anything without a specific reason by watching everybody and their mother go through the opening moments of Shadowbringers. Because there is not a single line wasted in those cutscenes. Everything is there for a reason and meant to convey a specific nugget of information for you to piece things together. Specifically, when Biggs tells you that the scholars haven't finished their assessment of the site and you're not supposed to go too far in, it's specifically to tell you that the ironworks have not been here. So the fact that there's an object with their logo on it is supposed to be suspicious.
Right.
Like, those are the minute details that she goes to.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is there for a reason and for a purpose.
I do agree, though, that because it is... How do I put this? Because it's not straight explained to the player, there is a degree of philosophy to it.
This whole expansion was. There are so many people that just don't understand some of the stuff that was discussed in this expansion because it doesn't hold your hand. It really doesn't. It leaves you to ask questions and come to your own conclusions. It doesn't give you all of the answers because that's kind of the point. There is no straight answer to a lot of these questions that it raises.
In fact, some of those lines that we got right near the end there with Y'shtola, talking about how the actual truth is disguised by rewrites and rewrites and rewrites.
Rewrites, interpretations, translation, whatever you want to call it.
It's the same concerns a lot of people have with the Bible and other religious texts, where it's been transcribed so many times since its original intention. It's
really hard to discern what that original intention was.
And it's the same issue here with Y'shtola, because she even mentions it. She's like, I know for a fact, based on what I've seen, what I've read, that the truth gets obfuscated. And I may suffer the same fate by writing it with my own perspective. And, it's the fact that we actually got to go back and see Elpis and all that was very, very helpful. But at the end of the day, it's all based on perspective and a carryover from Shadowbringers and what it brought to the table with a living memory, living history versus written history,
oral history.
Oral history, yeah. Because that comes up time and time again with Ishikawa's work, which is this idea that you can tell the story and you can continue forward, but there's always going to be a bias involved because it's a perspective. And unless you are actually there experiencing it, there's always going to be a bias to however that person was writing it, no matter circumstances. And once again, that's what this entire expansion was really pointing out, is that perspective is
the key to everything, honestly.
Yeah, because Garlemald, like, their biggest issue was that they were brainwashed with propaganda, but they were also extremely loyal to each other. So this perspective was that these people were coming in and trying to take them away or hurt them or do terrible things with their magic, and they were trying to protect each other. Yes, it was propaganda, but again, perspective. You got Thavnair, which is actually complete opposite. They're all like open to trade and neutrality because they want to be able to help everybody, but they don't want to take sides. And of course, Elpis, where it's incredible to see the fact that someone who's so kind and so gentle could have caused the final days inadvertently because of his own curiosity and hope for mankind.
I mentioned this before, I think, when we were going through it, but it really speaks to how the kindest, softest people are the ones that stand to be hurt the most, and in turn can hurt other people the most because of that. They tend to feel harder than anybody else, and because of that tend to lose themselves in despair and negativity a lot more easily.
And I know this
I completely understand Hermes' whole arc and how he ended up the way he was.
Yeah. I mean, this is a whole other topic, and honestly, we could probably talk about this for a couple hours. In fact, there's a part of me that wants to invite Ehqo to just have a conversation.
Have a discussion afterwards, after she finishes.
Yeah. Because I think there's a lot to unpack in this expansion.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that throughout this whole entire thing that we've been discussing the battle between hope and despair, and how depression can really, really sneak up on you, and that some people could feel that despair more than others without ever showing it. And the final days come to Thavnair when, on the surface, it seemed like people are okay. I mean, businesses were doing so great, and we were helping them out where we could. Matsuya was excited about having learned some additional tricks, and he was going to move forward on his own. But under the surface, people were destitute, and you saw that all over the place in this game, where people are just, they're doing a very good job of disguising that depression because they feel like they need to put on a strong facade and forge ahead, move forward. But the problem is, you can't without that hope. You can't without having someone else there who can pull you out of it, or even your own strength of will to get through it.
And something that I really want to point out here, talking about Thavnair specifically, and Kalzal in particular, is that given time, he probably could have pulled himself out of the despair that he was feeling with the
failed trade agreement.
Yeah, the last deal that went south, that he was just like, I don't know what else to do. But that happened to be the particular point where the Dynamis was starting to flood in, and that was what affected him. It fed on that despair, where he was literally just at that point, like, I don't know what else to do, and I give up. I just can't.
I'm ruined. I'm ruined.
Because, I mean, people feel that way sometimes. They have those moments in their lives where they're just like, I give up. I can't go on. I don't know what else to do. Some of them pull themselves back out of it eventually. With me, if it's, even if it's the next moment or the next day or the next week or the next year or what have you. Some people don't. Some people just aren't strong enough. But a lot of people do. They find the strength to keep moving. But in that moment, they are completely and utterly just done with life.
Anywho.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's some heavy topics, and like I said, I'd like to have the opportunity to revisit this with a little bit more organization.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Not podcast format or anything like that, but just a casual discussion with maybe some topics that I want to cover. Mm-hmm. I mean, if it happens, it happens. If not, it doesn't. It's fine.
The whole Zenos thing has just been burning at me for like 2 days.
Yeah, I know. You really wanted to talk about it, but we had to be recording for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, there are other people in RFC that were actually specifically asking about like what my thoughts were on that and whatnot.
Really?
Mm-hmm. You haven't been in the spoilers channel. Oops.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I had that muted.
Yeah, Leah and Arabelle were like, because Leah was like, yeah, I was watching your stream from last night at work, and your feelings about Zenos are pretty much exactly what mine were. And I was like, I've actually got some more thoughts on that, and I want to go into probably next time we sit down to finish the quest and stuff. So
It's interesting. How do I put this? Not that I'm trying to be like, all right, we're done. Never had to say this, but I mean, one of the last things I really want to say is it's very interesting how the community seems to be taking the Zenos event at the end, the conversation and the duty essentially, and that there's this huge spectrum of responses where some people thought it was completely acceptable, but in a completely different way, and other people completely reject it because they find it dumb, or again, they reject it because they felt like it was poorly done, or that their character wouldn't like even involve themselves in something like this. It's all over the place with the community. It's very interesting, and I would say that it's.
I found it extremely cathartic to just wail on him and punch him in the face.
Yep.
Literally punch him in the face.
Yep.
But
I mean,
there was a part of it that didn't make sense narratively to me until I examined it further. Like, it felt like it was oddly placed.
Yeah, well, we just came out of a very, a very cathartic moment where we had finally won. We had saved Medion, all that stuff had happened, and then Zenos is like, "Hey, what's up?" We're like, "No, I don't really. Why are you here?
Just let me go home.
I'm done. I won. I beat the game." And he's like, "No, we gotta Sephiroth this." And you're like, "Oh my gosh." Anyway, yeah.
Well, it's like that thing, like stuff like that is specifically placed to make you irritated. It's like when Valkyrie comes in right after Lena's big speech after the attack on the Crystarium, and you're like, oh, you
Yes.
idiot, you just ruined a really good scene, and I'm really mad at you now.
Yeah. I'm fine. Better to fine. Better than fine. And then Valkyrie's like, "You all suck." Thanks, Valkyrie. Alright. Well, let's wrap this up. Because you're worked up too.
I'm very worked up. I need to go calm down. Sorry.
It's been a wonderful adventure. I look forward to doing more recording as we go forward with dungeons and the raid.
We're waiting for Ehqo before we do anything else, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
She's currently in Elpis.
Yes,
So
87.
She won't be too far behind us.
Nah.
She's got
We'll probably be able to
probably
do it
another
this coming
3
weekend.
or 4 days of
Maybe.
dedicated playtime.
I say
Unless she's
this
getting
weekend. It's
extra.
Christmas weekend.
Yeah, it is.
But Sunday.
And you got vacation all the next
I
week,
do
don't
have
you?
vacation, yeah. Alrighty.
Okie dokie. I guess that's it, then.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.